Avion RC quads have not just become my favourite quads recently, but Avion RC as a whole has become my favourite brand. The customer service, the care, the detail that they put into their quads. When you speak to the team, and I'm not just speaking about me as a YouTuber, but when you guys speak to the team, the way that they speak back speaks volumes and is all too rare in FPV today. So I figured, what better platform to try and make something ridiculously extreme, such as a 6S 2.5 inch on, than the Avion RC Ikon Max. I want to clear this up straight away though. There is no issues with the 4S version that Avion RC provide and produce. It's fantastic. What happened last week, however, was Eddie from Avion RC sent me the new TPU mount for the DJI O4 Pro and O4 Lite for the Avion RC Ikon. And I figured, since we're going to be losing weight by getting rid of the O3 to the O4 or even the O4 Lite, let's go a little bit crazy and let's try and make this into the ultimate 6S 2.5 inch drone ever made. Say ever made. It's made by me, so it's probably not going to be that good, but you get the point what I'm trying to do here. So we're going to test out that new camera mount system, but we're going to test it out in the most extreme ways. And like I say, the point of this isn't to say, oh, well, the 4S that's provided by Avion is no good. That's not what I'm saying at all. What we're going to do is we're going to have a look at what the spec is, and we're going to have a look at some up close details. Then we're going to take it out for a couple of flights. And then after that, we'll discuss whether or not this is worth doing. Alrighty then, so we are here in the workshop with the Avion RC Ikon 2.5. This is what I've called the ultimate 2.5 inch DJI O4 build, and it's based all around a frame that is able to take such crazy power, the Avion Ikon 2.5 Max. Let's have a look at what the actual build is then, shall we? We'll do some close-up shots shortly, but for now, last week Eddie and the team sent me the new front TPU mount for the DJI O4 Pro. Let me just change that camera setting. Sent me the so they sent me the new mount for the O4 Pro for the Ikon, and it protects that front camera a lot more than what I jerry-rigged for the mount that wasn't really designed for it in the first place. We've got obviously the Ikon frame, as you've seen before, that I highly rate. We have got a Flyfish M10 Nano GPS, which picks up signals in about a minute when I move to a new location, and if it's in a location it's been used at before, very, very quickly. We are running two lightweight antennas at the back just to save a little bit of weight, because this is a 6S build with GPS, so we are sort of pushing the limits as to that sub 250 category. And we've still got the arm guards on from when we built the 4S version. Now, this is not in any way, shape or form a slight on anything that Avion RC do, but to get this to a 6S we did have to change the motors, and we've changed them to T-Motor F1404. I think it's 29,000 kV. Yeah, 29,000. I forgot what I built. 29,000 kV motors, and obviously we've got the DJI O4 Pro in there too. As far as I'm aware, the boards that Avion RC do use will also support up to 6S. Now, this particular board is actually an Oddity RC F7, purely because when I first stepped into my first foray of Avion RC quads, I just bought the frame only. So this was a build using different parts than they would use. My understanding is their flight controller should support up to a 6S. So if you wanted to follow this ultimate build, all you would need to do is essentially change those motors. Now, the exciting thing is I've been speaking to Eddie, and the mount is going to be available towards the end of March for you guys to purchase. So you're not going to have to buy a whole new frame or a whole new drone to retrofit it with an O4 Pro. They are going to sell these mounts, and he's hoping for the end of April. It may be the beginning of March, because there is a slight issue with the 04 Lite mount that they've got, and they just want to make sure that that's right for you guys. You know, this is what I love about Avion RC. They could ultimately do what certain other companies have just done and throw them out of the door, and then you guys have a poor experience, and then yeah. But Avion won't do that, so fair play and credit to them. And I know I sound like a bit of an Avion fanboy. The truth be told, I am, because they produce amazing quads. But it's not just that. The customer service that they have and the care and the passion that the team show is way above and beyond any other company that I've dealt with in FPV so far. So yeah, I guess I am a little bit of a fanboy, but in a good way. So that's the details of the frame. We'll do some close up of these motors and stuff and this mount, and then we'll take it out for a fly and we'll see if it actually flies well, because we're going to be putting these props through a hell of a stressing at 6S. These tiny little props are going to go absolutely crazy. So the question is, will it fly well? Well, before we answer that, let's move on to the macro section, and let's take a closer look. Okay, so motor-wise, we've got the T-Motor F1404 29,000 kV motors on all four sides of this drone. Part of the reason why we picked those is Eddie and the team uses T-Motor Pacers for the Nexa, so if they're good enough for Eddie and the team, they're good enough for me. So moving around to the back of the quad, and we can see the redesigned 04 Pro mount as supplied by Avion RC. This will come in your kit if you get the upgraded kit. So not only do you get the redesigned camera, but you also get the redesigned antenna mount as well. Again, I'm running really lightweight antennas here just to make sure that I can dive in under 249 grams with this, because this is a quad I don't intend to take apart. This is a quad I intend to take everywhere with me. Let's move around to the other side. So we can just sort of see peering at the front that the majority of that camera is well protected by that new mount. The chin of the 04 Pro is sticking out a little bit, but that's what the chin is there for. We can also see that the 04 Pro sits lovely on the frame with no modifications needed whatsoever. You can use the extended screws to give it a little bit of space from the frame, or you can screw it directly into the screw holes and into the frame, which is what I've done, just to give that flight controller a little bit of space and a little bit of breathing. And then obviously as we move towards the back, we've got the Radiomaster RP1 ELRS receiver on the bottom, just taped to the frame. I could do it neater, but ultimately this was a build I did quickly over Christmas, and I've just sort of upgraded it since then. Ideally what I'll probably do is I'll rip it all apart and I'll build it all properly with TPU mounts and make it into a really, really nice quad. But that's where we're at the minute. So coming around to the camera mount, and you can see it's mounted as our most retrofitted 04 Pro solutions these days, with just one of the two available screw holes on each side. That's mainly because these frames don't have the extra space needed, because they've been retrofitted as opposed to designed specifically for this camera. So the camera needs to move back a little bit, but it hasn't got as much space as it would have if this was a frame designed for the 04. Not necessarily a problem. I did have a little bit of jello on my Nexa, purely because of the screw holes not sort of gripping the screw tight enough, and it was normally when I was coming through a loop at 0 throttle and then getting back on the throttle at the bottom. I fixed that by using Teflon tape, or what do we call it over here in the UK? PTFE tape. So you may know it by either of those names. Put a little bit of that around the screw it into the 04 hole. It'll make it a lot more tighter, a lot more sturdier, and it should eliminate the majority, if not all, of the jello that you may experience. You may get lucky. This particular one has no Teflon tape at all, because it's a brand new 04, so when I screwed it in, the screw holes were lovely and tight. But my old one, like I say, has got a little bit slack over the years, so that hole just needed a little bit of tightening up, and that's how I did it. Anyway, let's move on. So finally we'll take a look at the front, and you can see the camera sat there. Again, really well protected. You've just got the chin sticking out, which is the same for most frames. If that camera was to go any further back, then obviously you'd have an issue of being able to see the props or the frame in view. So it is where it is for the reason it needs to be. There is no props in view on this frame. So without further ado, let's take this thing out and see if it actually flies. So to weigh this, pop it on the scales and it's going to come in at 149 grams. So that gives you exactly 100 grams to get yourself a Lipo. Now the one I've got with me here today will push us over slightly. So that pushes to 257 grams. And that one is a 650 mAh LIHV, I think it is. I need to double check that actually. May not be an LIHV, but it's 650 mAh 6S. And it just pushes us over. So a 520 or a 530 mAh 6S LIHV will keep you in at around about 245 grams and underneath that mythical, magical 249 gram limit. So moving on to our community spotlight, and I'm going to start with our incredible members. We've got the Goods, Shepherds, Sheep, Adventure Printing, Pedro Tomb, Grim FPV, Flip, SOS Death Pilot, Shaky FPV 21, Silicam Photography, Club Alexandro, Boy Wonder FPV, Connor Clark, Christopher Concrite, Peter Puff FPV, Scottish Island 420, Jamie Primnett, Reindeer, Han Solo, Doper FPV, Mark Duplex, Harry M Photography, JR FPV, James III of Boston, Phil Anderson, Not Here, Oinks FPV, Only Drones, and Barry Morgan FPV. It costs just $1.99 a month to join them on the members bench, and you'll get your name shouted out in every one of these feature-length videos. Now, let's have a look at your comments. And first up, we've got Salvatore, who says, I own this drone and I also found a lot of vibrations in the FPV feed. Some truly inexplicable ones were not eliminated by the gyro flow in stabilization. I discovered that it was a power cable hitting the camera mount during express maneuvers causing these vibrations. Once fixed with a clamp, only micro vibrations remained, in which these were cleaned up post-production. That's a really good point, and I wish I'd known that before I put the review out. I stand by the review. These comments, by the way, have come from the Flywoo Fly B20 review. I do stand by the review that if that does eliminate the vibrations, that's brilliant and we can get some usable footage out of it. But I still stand by the review that you should pick up the Flywoo Fly B16 instead. I think it flies better, it's more floaty, and it's more conducive to freestyle maneuvers, in my personal opinion. And some people may accuse me of putting this comment in there just to give my ego a boost, but FPV Squirrel says, you're seriously becoming my favourite FPV reviewers. Keep them coming. And I wanted to highlight this because I appreciate it when you guys say things like this. It's not an ego boost for me. I do this to help you guys, and to be recognised and acknowledged for what I'm doing is nice. You don't have to do it, but when you do it, just know that I appreciate it. And yeah, thank you very much, Squirrel, for that. And finally, we've got the father of quads, the Quad Father. Excellent review. It's awesome that this is something you're doing with your kid, Boy Wonder FPV. Keep up the excellent work. Well, Boy Wonder absolutely loves helping out on the channel. He's a drone flyer himself as well. So despite his young age, he's got an opinion on things that sometimes I don't look at in the same way. So it's great to have more than one sort of opinion to bounce around. And of course, doing something with your kids that have got the same passion that you have is just brilliant. So thanks everyone for your comments. If you want to get involved in the next community spotlight segment, then please just leave a really good comment down below. Funny, sad, outlandish, doesn't matter, just make it stand out, and I'll pick 3 for the next video. So we come to the end of this video. Normally I would say, is this something that you should buy? But this is not available off the shelf. As we've looked at the spec, this is a bit of a Frankenstein of a quad. Now, if we look at the flight footage, we can see that it flies really well. It flies really smooth. I know there's always going to be a little bit of skepticism about putting such big motors and such big batteries on such a small drone. And to be honest, I did it because I just thought, if any drone can cope with it, it's this one. And I was really impressed actually with how it did it. Also, because of how light that frame is, I knew that we could sneak in just about under that 250 gram mark. So all that being said, do I think this is something that you should probably do yourselves? And the answer to that really is it depends where you are in your journey of FPV. If you are someone who's been in the hobby for a few years and you like to build your own quads, this is probably a project I would consider undertaking yourselves. We can get sort of 6 minutes, 7 minutes of mixed flying out of it. We can get 5 minutes of really hard freestyle out of it. We're under the 250 gram weight limit, so we can take it up the side of mountains where people are walking and we can chill. Obviously, we need to be respectful and careful, of course. But it gives us that freedom, and the extra power and the extra punch that it's got over a 4S, again, just gives us a little bit of extra maneuverability and a bit of extra freedom. And by maneuverability, I don't necessarily mean of the quad. I just mean in general of what we can do, where we can do it, and how we can do it. I think one thing I would caution you of if you are to do this is it's really important that you use brand new props whenever anything happens. I had one prop with a very slight nick in it, and I'd been testing this quad for a couple of weeks, and when I had the 03 in it, I was running those props with a slight nick on it, and it was the most horrendous vibrations going through that quad I have ever seen any quad in my entire life suffer from. And that was purely because obviously the motors are spinning so much faster, the props are so small, so they're spinning so much faster. All I had to do is change a prop to a new one and it's perfectly smooth. So just bear that in mind as a bit of a cautionary tale, really. You should probably always try and keep new props where possible, but I know that's not always possible. And I do fly with bent and knackered props all the time on bigger drones. It's just that they're more susceptible the smaller that you get. If you're a pilot that's newer into your FPV journey, do I think this is a project that you should undertake? If I'm going to be completely honest, the answer is probably going to be a no. And the reason for that is you're going to have to get the tune absolutely spot on. Now, sure, you can just copy what I've done. Of course you can. But if anything is awry and isn't quite right, you may be chasing your tail for a while. And you may be struggling to find exactly within the tune what you actually want, where you want it, and how you want it. Like I said, my tune, if you used all the same components, should work. Shouldn't be a problem. But again, it being such a small quad, it's much more susceptible to changes than a bigger quad is. So just bear that in mind. It's a really fun little project to do, but if you are newer within your FPV journey, my advice would be buy a Maiden Flight from Avion RC. You know, they'll sort you out. The quad that you'll get will fly incredibly well. It'll be tuned for you and ready to go. But if you're a little, and I'll leave a link to Avion down below. It's not an affiliate link. I've got an agreement with Avion RC that I'll send as many people their way as I believe, you know, the quality of their quads represents, for as long as their quads represent that quality. And in return, I don't want anything back from them because they're a really small company and I do like to bang the drum for them as much as possible. But if you're a bit crazy like me, then go ahead and build it and let me know what you think.